Welcome back to Channel Zero X. This is Michael Landon, co-creator of Mortal Worlds with Caroline. How are you doing, Caroline?
Hey guys, I'm good.
Now, today we want to talk a little bit about where we see Mortal Worlds going and how its influences may have some bearing on what its future may be. Because as many of you are fans of many of the things that we are, such as Lovecraft, such as Star Wars, such as all of the great kind of mythological, the whole tapestry, which perhaps a lot of society overlooks in favor of modern art and more worthy ventures. We are quite unashamedly quite enamored of the things that a lot of society isn't so keen to talk about, perhaps because it might expand their minds a little too much. It might then question reality. It might question, are they doing the right thing in their own lives? Is there a bigger world out there to explore, to venture through?
And before we delve into those questions, I'd just like to say on behalf of both of us, our campaign is still slow. A massive thank you to everybody who's backed us and used their hard-earned money to place their faith in us. Thank you to everybody who's tweeted, retweeted and been kind. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate it.
It's quite overwhelming. The support we've been getting from so many people has just been outstanding. Can't even find the words to say, how great it's been to be getting your feedback, to be getting your advice on how to take things further in terms of promotion and getting noticed, and also just the way you've been so kind about how you feel about this work, because we certainly hope that people would respond favorably, but the way you've been, the stuff that you've been saying, it's just been so greatly appreciated. So thanks so much, guys.
Although we're part of the Comicsgate community, we're on Indicron, we do still have some problems in kind of getting on other people's live streams, the Comicsgate live streams that you're all probably familiar with. And just to say that if any of you guys out there have got comics or you're developing comics, if you want to come on our live streams and talk to us about your comics, we'd be glad to have you.
Yeah, certainly. I think part of the Comicsgate community is that it's important for everybody to support each other, to celebrate and support fun comics that do not have an agenda to bring reality crashing down into your existence while you're enjoying a comic and being transported elsewhere. There is a time and a place for comics such as that, perhaps, but that is not what we are concerned with selling. We are concerned with selling entertainment, action-packed comics, and ones that will leave you feeling fresh and re-energized and ready for new challenges in your own lives and perhaps in what other entertainment you wish to consume.
And also to feel good about yourselves, because life is hard. It can be a treadmill and a rat race. It can be fun, it can be great, but I don't think anybody can deny that sometimes life is really hard and grim meat hook reality. It's lovely to just escape. Good film, good comic, good book, whatever.
Yeah. Of course, this is the whole point, that creativity should be able to bring people the whole spectrum of human experience, whether it may be from the everyday world that we're so familiar with, whether it is completely outer planes of existence, whatever it may be. There is a market for all of those things, but what we wish to emphasize to everybody is what we wish to provide is entertainment, slam bang action. It is nothing to do with the people who want to force feed you their worldview, because we believe you know what you already know of the world. You don't need to be educated or enlightened further. And Caroline, I imagine that you're not a big fan of people trying to indoctrinate you with their own ideas. What do you think about that?
I absolutely agree with you. I'm only not a fan of people indoctrinating me with their ideas. I don't actually want to be hit over the head with Thor's hammer or a sledgehammer with that. What I want to do is be entertained. I want to have a good laugh. I want to have a joke. And I also want to, there are times when I want to be contemplative, meditative, to think and to expand my consciousness. And as I say, there are other times when I just want to sit down, chill out, and read something good.
Yeah, we're not saying that there can be no depth in entertainment, in comics. We're not saying that people shouldn't be ambitious, reach for the stars. It is simply that in doing so, you can't really bring the best of your own material to people if you are trying to give them a symposium on political discourse. It's not something that people are looking for. If they were, they'd go to the library, they'd pick out a tract, from whichever manifesto might be most interested in. That is not what comics ultimately have ever been about or should be.
Well, not to me anyway. Comics to me, and I've been into comics since I was very young, have always been a source of entertainment, enjoyment, fun, humour, as I say, and a good way to escape, especially if I've had a rubbish day, which we all have.
The contentious issue also, I guess, another elephant in the room around this whole issue, which we haven't really mentioned much of, I guess, is the people employed within the top echelons of the comics industry, who it's been brought to a lot of people's attention now through the works of a lot of people in Comicsgate. There are people who perhaps aren't the best qualified to be in the positions they are in. There is a line of thought which believes that simply the more diversity you're able to pack into any staff room, naturally, because of the percolation of those different experiences, you will naturally get the most energized, the most vivacious, the most challenging ideas bubbling up through that. And you can't but win with having that kind of a formula, where having just completely different people with completely different, perhaps, backgrounds, ethnicities, sex, all the rest of it, that on its own is enough to generate the most fantastic product.
Well, it could be, but it has to be not about the personas and the politics. It has to be about the work and the quality of what's put out there. And if that combination produces work which is good and everybody wants to read, then great. And I do think it has its place. It's just where it is at the moment, I'm not particularly entertained by it.
Now, of course, people who are most dedicated to bringing out product based on this method will, of course, say that this is a spurious argument. It's somehow an excuse, that it's not recognizing the truth of this discovery, which a lot of social sciences purport, that the mere fact of diversity brings quality. Now,
well, maybe it should.
Sure. But this idea that simply, let's say you lock in a room, it's a lovely thought, I guess, that if you lock in a room people of completely different kind of sensibilities and race and sex and everything, any conceivable religion, that you leave them long enough in that room, they're going to come out and say, yeah, we've talked things out, we've made a lot of recriminations with each other, and we've come forward, we've managed to meld our minds, and we're better for it. We're it's a synergy, and we've learned from each other, we've advanced, and it's only through doing so, that kind of discourse, that progress of any value can be made. Now, if that were a fact, if that naturally occurred just by the fact of these interactions being forced or encouraged or whatever, if something wonderful emerged, a new, let's say, a new Star Wars or a new Dostoevsky, whatever it may be, that would be, I guess, fine in a lot of people's minds. But I don't think that there is much evidence that this normally occurs. What normally occurs is that people with the same mindset, dedicated to a goal and willing to cooperate as a team, and all using their own talents, their own unique talents, bringing it to bear on one fixed notion, a goal, a product, whether it be a comic or a movie or a book or whatever it may be, That, I imagine, in most people's experience, that is what brings a fantastic product into the public arena. That it is not simply getting a people who don't get on, who have very different ideas, who don't have any natural inclination to want to pull together, because rather they may be even somewhat ghettoized in their own worlds. It's not a fait accompli.
I think it's also about in creativity, and it's difficult. Sometimes you just have to sublimate your ego, and when people can kind of sublimate their egos a bit and say, it's the quality of the work I'm interested, let's all work to the common goal of bringing
Mm,
decent independent books to the market. And I think
mm,
there should be choice. I mean,
mm.
the
Yeah,
big
absolutely. Yeah.
the big three, those comics, fine, everybody should have a choice to read what they want to read, but the seesaw should balance.
Mm,
And although Comicsgate is doing something towards redressing that, there
mm,
are still issues within Comicsgate itself, which we may or may
mm,
not bring up at a later
mm,
date, depending on
mm.
what happens with other
Well,
things.
it's a fair point. I think some people say that, of course, we're not just dealing with a world or a comics industry where it is entirely uh, for the benefit of the big three, that there are a lot of independent comics, a lot of indie publishers who allow all kinds of different voices, from comics that deal with primarily with the kind of machismo and the kind of maybe the generic action staples that maybe many of us were kind of brought up with. There are also ones which are kind of very much kind of like kitchen sink dramas, slice of life, maybe tales where people actually feel that their own experiences, their own identity, that they're most, the parts of their life that they most identify with, whether that may be their experience as a person of color, as they say, or whether it's a person who feels that they're a minority in some sort of way, whether they're a woman or whether they're disabled, wherever it may be. Nobody is saying that these experiences cannot be of value and cannot be entertaining in the comic book industry. Nobody's really ever said that. And if anything, we are probably all waiting with bated breath to actually see, to read all kinds of experiences and see how that kind of like could intersect with cosmic ideas, with action, with comedy, with drama, with pathos, all of these things which comics can do so well in their unique way. And it is not there is no attempt to try and weed these people out who want to bring these kinds of voices into comics. It is simply that we want the best, and we're quite capable of being able to identify whether somebody is bringing their best to comics. If we're saying, yeah, it isn't quite working, it's fine what you're trying to do. You're trying to bring in something new here, a different voice. But if the voice isn't able to connect with somebody, it is not with an audience. It is not because the audience rejects that voice out of hand because they happen to be from a set kind of background. It is because that person with that voice has not made the personal universal. That is the whole key, I believe, to any successful work of fiction. It's bringing your personal experiences, which ultimately, of course, you might an analogy might be like a dream which you're trying to explain to someone. It may be really kind of powerful to you, but as soon as you try and talk it out, try and describe it, all of a sudden it seems to lose a lot of its kind of relevance. You kind of realize it kind of sounds a little bit kind of immaterial as soon as you try to convey it to somebody else, even though it may retain its power to you. You might even feel a little kind of dejected by the fact that you can't actually get the other person to realize how much of an impact a particularly powerful dream or something like that has had on you. But with a professional writer, the whole point is that you are able to convey that. It is a unique talent to writers, in a way, to be able to do that with people, to say, there's something that I need to get off my chest. There's something I want to talk about. There's something I want you to feel with me, and I think you will enjoy it. You will benefit it in a way that you will feel invigorated, that you'll feel excited or frightened, or something that just gives you a kind of sense of something which is like more than just your own experience.
Anyway, we're going to wrap that one up now, guys. That's just a thought for today. Before I go, I just want to give a big shout out to Ortiz Arts. This is a small channel, very friendly. If you want to promote your comic, I'd suggest that you ask to go on his live stream. He's a very, very friendly person. He gives an incredible amount of space for artists to talk about themselves and their work. It's definitely worth going on there because it's such an enjoyable experience. You're not just promoting your work. It feels like you're connecting with a friend over coffee. It's great. And also Lewis Michael, he's another person who's very, very giving in
Creator
terms
of Chromosome 96, let's not forget.
Yeah, creator of Chromosome 96 is also extremely generous in giving time. So especially if you're new to live streaming, there are two that I'd suggest you might want to start out with while you're cutting your teeth. And again, thank you to everybody who's backed us. Thank you to everybody who's tweeted and retweeted. We really appreciate it, and we will be stepping this campaign up several notches with live streams this weekend.
One very final thing, I'd like to also thank celestesteel.co.uk. I had a look at their free download comic, and I've got to say I was absolutely blown away. I've said this in a tweet earlier on today, but it just so wonderfully captures the spirit of kind of like 80s action blockbusters, sci-fi, fantasy, the kind of comics, the whole scene of the toys, the games of the time, the 8-bit games, but not in a way that is kind of like heavy-handed, but in a way that really is unique to itself, really brings a new life to it. So I definitely recommend you check that out as well. But yeah, it's been great having you over. Thanks so much for hearing what we have to chew on today. I hope you've enjoyed it too, Caroline.
Oh yeah, definitely. And as I say, we'll be stepping up this several notches. And if you like, please do subscribe to the channel. It's very new. We're growing it. Check out Mortal Worlds on Indiegogo. See what you think. And if you've got any ideas for new perks, then let us know. I mean, about whether it's trading cards or t-shirts or mugs or just other things, or maybe to have far more than 500 signed personal copies of the comic. It's you, it's you, the buyer, that we want to give value for your hard-earned money for. Your hard-earned dollar, your hard-earned pound, your hard-earned yen, whatever. You're the people that we want to give value to.
And whatever floats your boat. Posters, stickers, iron-on transfers. I don't know if any of you guys remember that, but
do they still have those?
Well, God willing, let's hope so.
Because I hate ironing, so I don't know if
I certainly have fond memories of it. I'm sure someone else might. But whatever your deal is, if it's within our capability, if it's within a stretch goal that we could manage, we'd be so happy to be able to deliver to you whatever it is that you might suggest to us. Okay, guys, we're going to go now. I'm going to catch you very soon.
Stay safe, like, subscribe, and have a good week. Bye-bye.
Take care.